Hello everyone, my name is Koda, and welcome back to my survival series. Last episode, we finished our starter house, we did some terraforming around it, and it's raining. Anyways, we finished the interior, and then we laid out some plans around the back, and you can see I continued some of those plans. The goal for today's episode is to finish the dock around our base, get a little boathouse set up, and get a cave for our nether portal together. So stick around, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. Around the back of the house, you can see I didn't quite pull the terraforming all the way down here because I wanted to place in our boat dock before I did any of the terraforming around it. And then I laid out these pillars here that are supposed to be the outline for the dock that we're going to have around the back. I went for dark oak at the very bottom up until the water, and then spruce and then oak on the very top. This is meant to give it like a washed up feeling and kind of like it's drying at the very top and it's still wet down there. And then down at the very bottom, it's completely submerged. So that's kind of the idea behind that, and I figured I'd show you guys how I am planning on laying it out before I actually lay in all of the boardwalk and stuff like that. The plan for this cliff face is to carve out a little bit of a cave and then put our nether portal in there and then connect a stairway up to our basement that we're going to carve out for our starter house. I put down the boardwalk, and the way that I did it was putting 2 spruce in and then oak the rest of the way, and I'm going to go in and texturize it some more so that there are some wet patches where the spruce are, and then more dry patches where the oak is, and it's going to look a lot more texturized. But for now, that's what it looks like. Now that I added a bit of variation, some texture around here, you can see what I mean with the different areas looking like they need to be wet. So up here, you can see that there's a large area of spruce, so I increased the height of the strip spruce logs to make it look like that area in general gets more wet. And then over here, closer to the shore, it's not going to get hit with as much waves. So I lowered them a little bit, and then over there you can see there's a larger oak patch. I think the next step is to add some texture with some trapdoors here and there, and then add some supports across the beams to make them look like they're actually meant to be there. Along with these trapdoors in various places, I also added in some railings and some supports across the beams. That way it looks like there is a bit of a railing on the dock, and that the beams are a little more supported. In some areas, you can see it's oak, meaning it's supposed to be a little bit drier in that area, and then the majority of this on the outer edge is spruce, making it seem like it's wet. I'd say the next step is moving on to the dock house over there, but to have a dock house, you kind of need some place to dock boats, so I'm thinking there needs to be a little addition here that kind of goes a little bit lower and you can actually dock your boat in. Now that we have that little docking area in, it's time to get to work on the actual dock house. And we're finished with the dock house. I didn't go for much on the design. It's a small little place, but you can see the interior needs finished. And I'm thinking for that, we'll add some shelves. We'll add some of those small boats in there. And then we'll work on adding some life and some detail around the other parts of the dock. So kind of poking out from the front area, you can see I laid out some boats. And there's enough room in here for 4 boats, but one of them obviously is down in the docks area. And it'll sit right there for a while. Maybe eventually we'll bring it back up, but added a little bit of realism to it. And speaking of realism, I added these stripped oak logs here to make it feel like the oak planks had weathered a lot because of the water brought in by the boats. And so around the areas that the boats would be a lot, it weathered down, and that's kind of my thought process behind that. I think it would make sense to add in a little bit of a retaining wall behind this building here because it wouldn't be just off the edge of a cliff. So I'm going to do that, and then also place in a staircase going up probably this way, but maybe that way depending on how I end up laying out the stairs. But that's the next step that I'm going to do. Now that I've got that stairway in place and the cliff face is detailed, it's time to add some details around this dock. At this end of the dock, I kept it pretty light, just a couple of details here and there, because eventually I want to put this cave in here, and I think whenever I finish the cave, I'll have a few more detail bits that I'll extrude from the cave out to the dock area, so I left this kind of blank for now, and eventually we'll get to the details in this part. But there, I added in some shipping containers and some little workstations, a little bit of a, a mess over here because there's a workstation. Inside here, I added some chains, nothing much going on. Out here, some more shipping containers, and then this is supposed to be like a lobster trap. I think it looks pretty cool. It took a little bit to get the trapdoors to go right, but I thought that was neat. And then over here, we have like a fish cleaning board or a drying rack or something like that. So that's about all the details that I added. There's nothing over here because this was kind of a narrow spot to work with, and I wanted to keep it more of like a pathway over to this section. Next, I'm thinking this area needs a little bit in the water, so I'm thinking about putting in a boat here. And just like that, we have a boat. Now that every bit of our dock is detailed, it's time to start work on our cave. So right now I linked it up and have a rough estimate of where it needs to go, but we'll make the cave a lot deeper and it'll go further back and then wind up some kind of stairway back into our basement, just like that. And we'll have a nice quick and easy way down into a furnace smeltery and where another portal is going to be. I went ahead and shifted this doorway a block or two to the left. That way it gives us some movement within our build instead of being just a straight line down. And in the furnace room itself, I put down the 5 furnaces that I'm going to use and some blast furnaces. Underneath the furnaces, I'm going to put in some hoppers that'll lead into these barrels. That way we can collect all the items that we smelt very easily. At the top of the furnaces, I'd like to put in some hoppers. That way we can have some backlog and it'll be easier for smelting. I also plan on using some lava buckets that I've collected for smelting. The hoppers will make it easier to use these lava buckets. Using lava also means that we're going to have to incorporate some kind of a dripstone room in here. That way we can continuously get lava for smelting. With this room all finished up, it's time that we move on to our cave. And I carved out this little bit of a pathway here, kind of keeping the natural theme of what a cave is supposed to be like. And somewhere in there, we could probably create a jut-off room to where our dripstone farm will be. Or we can incorporate that somewhere else down here. Either way, it's probably time that I start digging. I like it. It turned out pretty natural, which is kind of what I was going for. There's a good bit of room, but if we want to expand it all, we could probably cut out here or here for that dripstone lava farm. But I'm thinking the nether portal will probably go on this wall right here, and I might even push it back a little bit further. But for now, this is what the cave is looking like. And then over here, I still need to finish this part. I finished the cave all the way down and was able to give it this nice natural feel. I added some slabs and some stairs in some places to give it a nice slight curve. And in some places, this gets a little tight, which is kind of the way I wanted it to be. And then down in this room, we get a nice view of the bay. From the front, you can see how the slabs give it a nice rounded feel. I also went in and added some glow lichen and some glowberries here and there, as well as some coal ore. The last touch we need is this nether portal. Yep, that looks really cool. Now it's time to see where we end up. Oh, okay, we're back at the same portal. We might have to break this one. I did some super scientific and really smart calculations and discovered that my nether portal that I created should end up here, which is like a few blocks over from that one, so I'm not even going to move it. Okay, so I'm adding in some finishing details on the dock, and there's just one thing I need to do. Hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, that looks good. I've been thinking about it, and I think this furnace room is a little too small for what I wanted, so I'm going to push it back just a couple blocks. Alright, I reworked the room, and it's a lot more spacious, and I put the dripstone with the lava right here. I know it doesn't make logical sense that the lava's right there, but it does look really cool, so I'm going to leave it for now. And this is an easy way to pick up the lava that I need for smelting, and it's right here too. And it doesn't require me to actually like carve out another spot down there. Because down here there isn't really room. I mean, like digging out a cave right here would kind of make this place cramped. So I tried adding some shroom lights behind my windows because one of my comments suggested that, but I think they stick out just a little bit too much, and it doesn't bother me enough right now that there needs to be something behind the windows, so I think for now I'm just going to leave them. In my opinion, I think this dock is in a good spot. It's pretty much done. I've detailed as much as I can, or as much as I've had ideas for, and I think it looks good. I finished the cave. I finished the basement. What else is there for me to do here? Well, if you could tell, I've been standing on scaffolding to look at this thing for the entire episode. And honestly, it's a pain trying to put that dirt block down so I can actually scaffold up here. So I think we need a ship right here that I can stand on the crow's nest and look at the dock. And that ship might be perfect for the Admiral, who's been chilling right there for almost this entire time. I think we're going to build him a ship. So I'm in my creative test world, and I've been trying to summon a full sunken ship, and I've had only one spawn out of the dozens I might have tried. But this is the ship we're going to use as a reference for the ship that we're going to build for the Admiral. It'll be quite the challenge to try and mirror this over in survival. I'm going to have to take a lot of screenshots, but I think it'll be worth it. It'll be really cool to see it sitting in the bay and remind us of all the shipwrecks that we got in the first episode, and it'll be a nice place for the Admiral to live. Okay, so I know I'm supposed to be building a ship right now, but I am procrastinating heavily. And I remember this triple spider spawner. I'm not going to dig it out, okay? But I do remember seeing there were 3 spawners, like all in the same range. So eventually we could make some kind of a farm out of that if we ever need a ton of string. But really, there's one thing that I left down here. I took a screenshot of it. I guess I could just look at the screenshot. But there are some regular diamonds somewhere, and I did, yeah, okay. I brought the Silk Touch pickaxe, because picking up those diamonds whenever we found Squib Jr. reminded me of these ones down here. And I also wanted to get spider webs, that's right. But, yeah, don't mind me, I'm just distracting myself. Hello, Mr. Enderman. I'm not gonna try and kill you, don't worry. Aha! Okay, you see one there, one right there, and then one right there. So triple spider spawner that we can use for, I have no idea. Eventually, once we get the skulk and the skulk catalyst and stuff, we could probably make a farm out of this, but I thought it was really cool, so I figured I'd show everyone. And after about 30 minutes, I finally found the diamonds. See, there was a reason I went down in the cave. Okay, but procrastinating aside, it's time we get working on the ship. Just kidding. In typical Coda fashion, I found every other distraction to keep me from making this ship. I decided I wanted to do it out of mangrove wood to kind of match the dock and in celebration of 1.19, but I didn't have very much mangrove wood, so I went about collecting some. I'm not a big fan of harvesting these anymore. During that extremely long process of chopping down all those mangrove trees, my axe took a beating, so I had to turn to the dark side. I was tired of having to make a new axe every time this one was getting low, so I turned to using these guys. Absolute scum. But this guy gave me mending for 1 emerald because I zombified him, and then this guy gave me silk touch for 5, but I also zombified him because he deserved to die. Now, these guys, when I first converted them, they did not refresh their trades for like 30 minutes. I waited here and they just hate me, so they didn't decide to refresh their trades. I made them rooms, I gave them beds, I let them sleep, and then they clipped through the walls and escaped. And I spent like 15 minutes chasing them down because, of course, I didn't know that they had escaped. I was over there chopping trees, and they just decided to leave. And so I found one all the way over there across the hill, and then this other guy clipped into this room. So I spent a good 10 minutes looking for him. I turned on my hitboxes and everything like that, and he was in here the entire time. So that frustrated me just a little bit. But now we got these guys. I got mending on every single one of my tools and a bunch of tools back at the base as well. And then I also finished up getting good armor. And I've named the cap and my kicks, but I don't have a name for my chest piece or my legs. So if you have any ideas that kind of go with the theme, Coda's cap, Coda's kicks, Coda's something that starts with a C or a K, that would be preferred if you let me know down in the comment section. But we also got Mr. Stabby Stab, Mr. Fortunate One, Mr. Log Chopper, Mr. Smooth Spoon, and then my Silk Touch pickaxe is Mr. Silky Smooth. But now that I got my tools situated and I don't have to worry about constantly making new tools, it's about time that I actually start working on this ship. That actually only took about 40 minutes to make and copy. It probably took me a day or two to stop procrastinating and actually do it. But now that we have it here, it's time to add on some sails and maybe an anchor over there and some supplies. I've been playing around with this for maybe an hour now, and everything I put on the ship, I really don't like. And I tried putting sails on, and you can see there aren't any sails now. It's just everything that I put on did not look right. So I'm gonna leave it as it is because I think it looks good just the way it is. I did add an anchor that you can see over there, and I had some supplies sitting on the deck, but again, it did not look right, and I couldn't get it to look right, and it frustrated me a little bit. But honestly, I'm okay with how it looks now, and I think that's how we're going to leave it. I didn't want to do full-blown sails because the ship is pulling into a harbor and it wouldn't have its full sails out, so I tried to make them look like they were rolled up, and it didn't come out right. So they just don't have any sails on them, and that looks okay. And then in terms of supplies, I tried to throw some diamonds on the deck, and these regular diamond ores that I got, and again, it just didn't work. But that's okay. Sometimes stuff just doesn't work out. I did add this little ladder here, but in terms of anything else, there's nothing here. There is one thing this ship is desperately missing, though. It's captain. So I'm going to go ahead and take the admiral over to his ship, and I'll check back in with you guys. And here we have it. The admiral is in the captain's quarters. Mrs. the Admiral's on lookout. And first mate's steering the boat. Now that we gave them all a home on this beautiful boat next to this beautiful dock, I think it's about time we wrap up this episode. If you enjoyed, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like or a comment or something, just to let me know that you enjoyed the episode. And if you have any ideas for what I can put on the boat or anything I can put around this dock area, please be sure to let me know. As always, I really appreciate you guys being here with me, and I really hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a great day.